What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Vibrant Work. Get some water in my system, you know what I'm saying? It's a great Sunday to do another teaching for you guys, you know what I'm saying? So, all right, man. What's up to all my fellow explorers of the vibrant mind? Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Justin Fales, and today we're going to dive into something that affects every decision that you make as a parent and even honestly as a human being. Now, have you ever found yourself standing in your baby room, maybe 10 p.m. at night, perhaps 2 a.m. in the morning? You're just looking at that little joker. You're trying to decide whether that cough that they having makes you want to grab them up and take them straight to the doctor right then and there, or if they can just wait until the morning. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you've got all of the logical things checked off the list. You check the fever, there ain't no fever. They breathing fine. They ate their dinner normally. Didn't eat their vegetables. You know what I'm saying? But they ate everything else. But something is in your gut telling you, now you need to take that baby in. And that's the essence of this lesson today on what we're going to discuss. Another situation could be you're about to sign your baby up for preschool. You're going through all the preschool websites. You're on Google. You're looking at all the reviews. You're comparing the curriculum standards, the test scores. And then one day you just decide, all right, let's stop looking at all this information and let me go up there with my baby to this school. And when you get there, you can just feel like, this is the place. Even though it might not check all of the other boxes off on paper. And we're going to dive into that a little bit later. You know what I'm saying? So this is the dance between the logical side of parenting and being human and the intuition side. And today we're going to explore both of these incredible tools that lives inside every single parent. By the end of our time today, you'll understand when to lean into your intuition and when to lean into your logic. But most importantly, how to honor both of those voices as you navigate this beautiful, complex journey of raising our little babies, y'all. Okay? So grab your coffee, your tea, whatever you like, and we're going to dive straight in, all right? All right, so we're going to start with logic. Now, what is logic? Let's give you a basic understanding of logic, okay? Let's start with logic, and I want you to think of logic like being a master chef in the kitchen, and you've been following your tried and true recipe. So when you're making your grandmother's favorite cookies, you know what I'm saying, the ones that with the chocolate chip and the sprinkles and all the good stuff in it, you call your granny, be like, yo granny, how do you make them cookies? She give you the recipe. All right, baby, it's 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of butter, 3/4 cup sugar. You preheat the oven to exactly 375 degrees. See, look, this is a systematic approach that gives you predictable results by the end of it all. So at the end of it all, guess what? The cookies should come out exactly like your granny said, because you used a logical process. Logic works the same way in parenting. Is very systematic. It's a step-by-step approach to making decisions based on evidence, facts, and proven methods. And all of that stuff that they teach you in them parenting books, guess where that came from? That came from parents actually doing the work. That was parents doing the work that they learned this from. They used a logical process. So parenting can be very challenging. However, give yourself grace. We're all learning as we go, y'all. Okay? Now, a proven method, let's take the idea of bedtime routines. Logic tells us that consistency matters, because consistency does matter no matter what you do, especially with babies. Research shows children need, let's say, 10 to 12 hours of sleep. I know my babies don't get 10 to 12 hours of sleep, but actually sometimes they do be sleeping a little bit longer than I would think they need to be sleeping, just because y'all need to get up and clean up somewhere. But anywho, studies prove that screen time before bed disrupts sleep patterns. So logically, what can we do, y'all? We can create a structured routine. Hey, dinner is at 6. Your bath is at 7. And maybe I'll read you a story at 7:30, but these lights in this house need to be out by 8, okay? Or consider safety decisions. You're going to install the baby car seat or the booster seat. You're going to childproof the rooms, the edges of the corners and stuff. If you got a little small baby, you don't want them to hit their head, or the little outlet plugs. So just childproofing the rooms, or medication dosages. You really got to be very logical in the way that you do that. These aren't areas where you want to go, let me go with my gut. Maybe I'll just go with my gut on how much of a medicine I give this baby. We want the research, we want the standards, and we want the proven methods that will help us make wiser, better choices. This is all logical processes, y'all. Logic is an incredibly powerful tool because it's reliable, it's communicatable, and it's objective. It removes all of your personal bias and gives you consistent rules when applied to similar situations. So that's why they say the masculine side of you is very logical, very methodical. I call it a sharp sword. Operating purely on logic is very sharp, clear cut. Okay? But here's the thing. Logic works best when you have all of the information and predictable variables. What's the challenge with that? Children, they the challenge with that. They aren't ingredients that respond predictably to the same inputs every time. That ain't how children operate, y'all. Your 3-year-old might need exactly 11 hours of sleep on Monday, but on Tuesday they might only need 9 because they're going through a growth spurt or dealing with anxiety about starting preschool. This is where our second way of knowing becomes essential. And what's the second way of knowing? I think you might know by now if you've been paying attention. That's where the intuition kicks in. Let me drink my water, man. My throat a little dry. All right, making sure that's good to go. Now, what is the intuition? So, if logic is like following that recipe, the intuition is like being a jazz musician in the middle of a performance, y'all. Picture a skilled jazz pianist. Like, we got our Stevie Wonder going, we got our Ray Charles going, you know what I'm saying? They know music theory, they know the chord progressions, but when they're on stage improvising because something is just a little off on the beat, guess what? They're not thinking through every note logically. What are they doing? They're feeling the music. They let it come in a flow. And a great example of this, if you watch the Disney movie Soul, it basically shows you clear cut when you tap into your intuition and you get into the flow. Okay? So they're feeling the music, they responding to the energy in the room. The crowd is, they're crunk, they're jumping off, and they're letting their accumulated experience guide them to create something beautiful and spontaneous that can only be created in that moment that they're allowing the intuition to actually have say. Okay? Here's a great example for parents. Let's say your teenager come home. You be like, how your day, baby? They be like, fine. Logically, everything might seem all right. Logically, they got good grades in school. They got to school on time today. They ate everything. But something in the way that they said fine, something in that tone, they avoided eye contact with you, perhaps. It tells you a different story. So now what you're doing, you're leaning on that intuition. Like, hold on. Your intuition is now kicking in and picking up on those subtle cues that your logic might be missing out on. Even in moments that you're disciplining your babies, you might have to have clear consequences in place so they understand this action means this consequence. But perhaps on this particular day, your intuition might tell you that your 4-year-old's behavior isn't defiance or being disrespectful to you. It could perhaps just be overwhelming. Maybe they had a big change in their life. Maybe they just came home or came from a different place this weekend. Their routine is thrown off. Maybe they need more of a connection and not actual correction. But logically, you would keep the system in place. But intuitively, with your intuition, you might be like, hold on, let me step back out of logic for a second and actually pay attention to something beyond logic. Okay? So, intuition is immediate, it's holistic, and it's adaptive. It often knows things before your logical mind can even process them. Imagine that. You want to be logical, and there's something that operates beyond logic that we can all tap into, and sometimes we do tap into. Okay? So, like having an early warning system that picks up on patterns at a subconscious level. Logic is running consciously. Intuition is running subconsciously or unconsciously. And I can dive deeper into that if you follow my links below in the descriptions, and just get my newsletters and stuff, and you'll get a deeper understanding of these topics. So intuition requires fast-paced living. Actually, I said that backwards. When you're operating in intuition, it's like really quick in the moment, but how do you enhance knowing or feeling that intuition? It's when you slow things down and you learn to be still and trust yourself. You trust the intuition. The more you start trusting it, then you build up that memory muscle of trusting your intuitions. And sometimes we don't trust it because we've been taught that gut feelings aren't as valuable as what you can process logically, what's right in front of you. But your intuition is actually processing vast amounts of data, just faster and more integrated than what your logical mind perhaps could be processing at that moment. So, what we're trying to get to, y'all, we know what the logical side does. It helps us build systems. It helps routine. It's very database, evidence-based. It's a great way to operate. And what is intuition? It tells you things that you can't see logically. So what we need to do, we need to learn how to make them work together so that we can get the benefit of both. So here's where it gets very exciting. You don't even have to choose between being logical and intuitive. So in the spiritual community, you speak on the feminine energy traits and the masculine energy traits. But what happens when you balance the two, y'all? That's where the magic happens. When they start working together like a beautiful dance, that masculine energy in you and that feminine energy in you. Think of it like this. Logic is your GPS and intuition is your experienced local guide. Your GPS gives you the most efficient route based on the data. The live data says, hey, there's traffic here. This is the route. This street is here. Turn here. Blah, blah, blah. But your local guide knows about, hey, it's some construction over there. I just rode past there this morning. And it hasn't been updated in this system yet. And actually, Google not going to tell you that this neighborhood, you probably don't want to drive through. But what can your local guide tell you with the intuition? They'll be like, hold on, we might not want to go to that side of town just to show you this tour of this city to give you a certain experience. So let me show you how this looks in real parenting situations, y'all. Earlier, we talked about your child being sick. Let's just say it's about 11 p.m. or so. Your 6-year-old daughter has a fever. Now, logic gonna kick in first. You take that temperature. Ooh, it's 102. You check your symptoms. You consult all of your guidelines. And you're looking at Google. Please don't look at Google when you have issues medically, y'all. It's not gonna make you feel any better. I promise. The assessment says monitor through the night, give fever reducer, and call the doctor in the morning if it persists. But your intuition kicks in, and then notice something a little bit slightly different about the way your baby breathing, y'all. Or they feel unusually limp when you hold them. You have that warmth. It's like, hold on, something is slightly different than normal. The integrated approach honors both, y'all. You can use your logic to gather all of the data and the facts, but don't scare yourself. And you can trust your intuitive read. How do you feel about it? What does the fact say, and how do you feel about it? Now we're going to work on integrating the two, because that's very important. We so often try to separate the two. If you just purely working on the intuition side, you're missing out on things that can ground you. And if you just stay grounded, you're missing out on things that can be flying over you. So we're trying to get to the place where we have access to both. Okay? So we talked about the school a little bit earlier. And actually, let me finish up on the kid being sick. The integrated approach honors both. You use logic to gather all your data and trust your intuitive read. And maybe, just maybe, you decide, hey, let me call that nurse line right quick. That's on my medical card. And you tell the nurse, yo, this is all the facts that I was able to gather up, but something feels different to me as a parent. So now you're integrating your factual side and your intuitive side, and you're giving all of this information to a qualified individual to assist you and guide you on what to do next. Okay? We integrated both. So now in the school scenario, and this actually is a real life example that I went through recently. So doing the research on the school you want to send your baby to, you're looking at the test scores, the state scores, the program, the location of it. And then let's just say you wind it down to 2 of your top choices. Then you decide, yo, let me go visit these schools. I want to physically actually step into the school. When you visit school A, you see your baby light up. Them eyes light up. They walking by, looking through the doors and stuff, looking at other kids, waving, the other kids waving back. They look at the playground. They getting spoken to by the security. They like everybody. It just feels like home. So, the integrated approach, because obviously you see something that tells you your child is being driven or magnetized to this place, and they seem very comfortable in a way that you can't even quantify. So, the integrated approach is going to honor both your research and your child's intuition in the way that they gravitated to this school. So maybe you start digging a little deeper. You weren't really gonna pick school A just purely based on the data. You wasn't gonna pick it. You was like, man, school B, they had everything from the ceiling to the floor sold up perfectly. Like I was sold just purely based on the data. But then you walk into school A. So because of this response by your baby, you start doing a little bit more research on school A to see what qualities are not reflected in those stats, that hard evidence. So maybe you decide, yo, I'm gonna go up there a couple times at different points in time just to get a different feel of different points in time of the day, just to make sure that first time wasn't a trick. Each time your baby go, your baby lighting up like, Daddy, Mama, I'm ready. What are you doing? These kids love me. I'm Hall of Fame when I walk in here. You know what I'm saying? So you start then deciding, at least in my situation, I was like, man, my baby is so comfortable here. They're automatically going to learn because I know my children doesn't have learning issues. They love to learn. I just want them to be in an environment where it gives them the friendships, the bonds, the morale to learn. So the actual curriculum themselves became a little less important to me. And what became more important is the bonds they can build, how they feel when they go to school, how they feel when they come home, how excited they are talking about school. So start leaning more towards that intuitive side than the logical one that just said, all right, this is a A-rated school with the state. This is this, this is this, this is this. And then we went with the B-rated school. And my child is thriving because we based it on looking at the data, not completely ignoring the data. Because if the data said this school just won't give them an education whatsoever, then obviously we wouldn't go there. But we allowed ourselves to be open enough to see, like, yo, my baby, when they walked in, you could feel the energy. So because we could feel the energy, now we got both of our children going to try to go to the same school. So, all right, we're going to give you another example. And this is like in those moments you have to discipline your baby, man. Nobody really want to discipline their babies, but there's consequences to actions, which is best for them to learn when they're younger, better than when they get older and don't know no better. Your 8-year-old has broken a rule for the third time this week. Come on, that's what 8-year-olds do, y'all. Okay? Logic gonna say consistent consequences are very important, but intuition notices that they've been more anxious lately. They've been a little bit more anxious lately. They mentioned some friend drama that they had going on at school, and seem to be testing your boundaries in a do you still love me type of way, rather than I don't respect the rules type of way. The integrated approach in this scenario is we still need to address what happened logically. Like, yo, I gotta tell you what your behavior is, because we can't excuse it. No matter what, we can't excuse your behavior. That doesn't mean you don't have a reason for your behavior, but we just have to communicate. We have to get to the place where we can communicate clearly what it is that we're feeling and doing, so that our children knows how to communicate that back to us in their way. So we still need to address what happened, and I'm wondering if there's something else going on or what we should talk about, which is the intuitive side. So, yo, this is what you did, son. But is something else going on I don't know about? There's something else you need a safe place to actually talk to me about, because you're acting strange. So you're using your logical processor, where let's not excuse the behavior. We'll deal with that part when we deal with it, and intuitive. But what's going on with you? What's really going on with you? The key is seeing logic and intuition as complementary rather than competing. We don't have to have these tools within us as competing mechanism, y'all. We balancing the two. It makes us better people and better parents, y'all. So we're gonna talk about times when it's best to lean on logic and times when it's best to lean on your intuition, y'all. Okay? Let me give you a practical situation where logic is probably what you want to lean on. All right? So, logic is your go-to when building the foundation of your family's life. This is a prime example. When you talk about protecting your babies, y'all, you want to lean on logic. Because let's say your toddler runs into traffic or towards traffic. The first thing you do ain't to check in on your intuition. Be like, should I just let my baby do it? Oh, my intuition is saying. No, you respond with logic, because that is the strength of logic. Like, hold on, before you walk or step towards traffic, look left, look right. Even if you feel like it's right, still look left, look right. Because safety, you can't risk your child's safety. So you will lean on logic over intuition in that scenario. Because you don't want your baby to get hit by a car, even if it looks empty. And this is something I teach my kids. I don't care where you going or what you doing. If you walking out toward, even if it's a parking lot, look left, look right, look straight ahead. It don't matter. Don't go based on a feeling, or because your eyes could play tricks on you. So make sure before you take that step. Logic also serves best when you like planning your baby's future, like their education. When you're choosing curriculums, you're evaluating the schools that they could potentially go to. You're asking about the measurable outcomes and researchable methods. Okay? So when you're making financial decisions, maybe you want to start writing stuff down on paper, creating spreadsheets, Excel sheets. It's a systematic way of looking at the data and then basing your decisions off of that data. Medical decisions also need evidence and professional consultation. So, yeah, when it's time to make a medical decision, you want to be logical about it, y'all. That's a strength of logic. Intuition is fine to use in that situation, but logic will give you a more predictable, steady outcome. Okay? Logic shines when establishing routines, rules, and consistency, which children thrive on because they need predictability to know this means this. And logic helps create systems that work for your babies and for you as a parent. So when I walk in the house, because I've created a logical system, where should cups go? Where should your phone go? Where should your clothes go? We've created a logical process where I have an understanding and the children have an understanding. that this is where we're going to meet. Clothes go on a hanger and put in the closet. They don't go over the couch. They don't go on the kitchen table. That's where logic serves best, y'all. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about when intuition is your superpower and when it's best, like the times to use your actual intuition. Intuition excels at reading your child's emotional world. Children don't always have words for their experiences, y'all. And they still learning words. Sometimes I don't even know how to put how I feel into words. So imagine the children. But their behavior often communicates something different than what's on the surface. Okay? That tantrum about being the wrong cereal. Your baby got mad because you got on the wrong cereal. It's the wrong color. It's the wrong spoon. It might actually be a feeling of powerlessness elsewhere. That's why it's very important when you're parenting to really know when to kick in or lean in on your intuition. Another good time for intuition is very, very good at exquisite timing. Intuition comes in on time, in time, every time. The same conversation can land completely different depending on when you have it. Like, you ever wanted to tell somebody something and you just get that feeling like, this ain't the time. You just trusting that timing. This ain't the time to tell them. This would be too much for this moment. The energy isn't right now. So intuition, it picks up on readiness and emotional availability in ways that logic can't even measure. Okay? So that's a benefit of leaning on the intuitive side and when it's a superpower. Also, intuition is used for creative problem solving. Intuition opens up solutions when traditional approaches aren't working. Maybe when you grew up, your parent told you to do something like this. And now that you're a parent, you like, bruh, this ain't working. Now you have to lean on your intuition. But like, hold on, let me be so in tune with myself that I'm guided by what I feel to be appropriate and right for this situation, not just based purely on the past or logic. Okay? Maybe your child who struggles with traditional studying thrives walking around while reviewing their material. Your baby might not be a baby that sits down, reads, and does everything in a traditional fashion. But when they stand up and they can hold the book, guess what? Now their brain is operating in a better place. And they're picking up on this material in ways you can't even quantify. That's intuitiveness kicking in and not logical. Okay? So, intuition helps you customize your parenting to your specific child, because especially if you have multiple children, they don't operate the same, so you're not parenting them the same. You try to, as much as possible, keep a consistent way of parenting. But what this baby needs could be completely different than what this baby needs, okay? Maybe your sensitive child needs more downtime than the recommended schedules allow. So, remember, even in logical domains, intuition provides just as valuable information, y'all. And even in intuitive moments, logic can actually offer helpful structures to make the intuitive side even more powerful. Okay? So we're going to talk about how to integrate these strategies, y'all. How to integrate being a better logical parent and how to integrate being a more intuitive parent. How can we blend the two? So how do you integrate both in a daily parenting practices? Here are some practical strategies you can use today, y'all. There's something called the pause practice. So before you make any big and significant decisions, y'all, build in a pause. Even 3 deep breaths can create space for both your mind and your heart to weigh in. What does the evidence tell me? And what does my inner knowing or my intuition telling me in this moment? And that pause can give you every bit of moment and processing that you need. So before you start making decisions, just pause. You don't have to instantly make them, y'all. Okay, another way to integrate these in a practical way is the both and conversation. Instead of saying, should I trust my gut or should I go with the research? You don't have to do that. That's outdated. You can do this. Yo, what is the research telling me? And what is my intuition sensing about what the research is telling me? This frames them as collaborative rather than competing. Okay? You're blending the two because you're not overly being logical. You're not overly being intuitive. Intuitive, think of it as your head is in the clouds. Logical, you're grounded to the earth. How do we connect the two? Okay? So, your body holds intuitive information, so you can do a body check as well. When considering decisions, just notice. Notice what happens physically within you. Do you feel your muscles twitching or something? Are they getting weaker? Do they feel stern? Does your chest tighten up? Do your shoulders relax? Your body's wisdom can inform choices alongside all of your mental, logical processing. Okay? The time-based approach, y'all. For non-urgent decisions, start with logic. And then do your research, gather the facts so you can see all the hard evidence, make your list out, then step away for a moment and ask your intuition, what feels right? See where they align and where they differ. Then decide, honoring both. You could pick a little bit out of the intuition side. You could pick a little bit out of the logical side. You could put them together, and now you have a monster, a superpower on your hand, y'all. Okay? We're going to do the values filter. So this is another practical approach, the values filter. Both should be filtered through your family's core values. What is the alignment core values of your family? If a logical solution doesn't align with your values or an intuitive impulse contradicts what you believe important, that's valuable information. So yeah, as a family unit, what serves us collectively? What serves us collectively? Okay? So, remember y'all, man, parenting is not perfect. It's not even trying to be perfect. This is a practice. This is a learn as you go. You'll sometimes lean too heavily on your logic, and you'll see the result of that. And you'll miss all that emotional information that comes to you. And sometimes you will follow your intuition and realize, man, I needed some more facts. That's all a part of learning the dance with both ways of knowing. Your intuition and your logical. As we wrap this thing up, y'all, and thank you for being here. I appreciate y'all so much. But remember this. You already have both incredible tools living inside of you. Logic and intuition aren't foreign concepts to learn. Everybody has heard these concepts before. But what are they? They are wisdom systems that we've been using our whole life. We just have to understand these concepts a little bit better to actually start applying them in an effective way. The invitation is to become more conscious about when and how you use your logic versus your intuition on a day-to-day basis, and to trust that both of them have valuable information for your parenting journey. Your logical mind helps you create safety, structure, and evidence-based decisions. Your intuitive wisdom. One moment, I need this. I need this water. My throat getting dry. Y'all gonna see me drinking a lot of water on these teachings. Be needing it. Your intuitive wisdom helps you respond to unique human beings in front of you with perfect timing, creativity, and heart-centered knowingness. Together, they make you not just a more effective parent, but a whole human being. You're going to become just a better human being, okay? While raising other whole human beings. So this is going to be y'all homework for the week, because you know I'm going to drop some homework on you. For the next week, just the next week, just notice, pay attention to, become more conscious of. Notice when you're operating from your logical place and when an intuition kicks in. And what happens when you merge and honor both? There ain't no perfect way to do this. There's only your way. You're going to allow both sides to send you information, informed by both the wisdom of your mind and the wisdom of your heart. And you're going to let it play out and write that down. And come back to the comments and drop what happens when you honor both. Or don't honor both. We'd also like to know that. Thanks for spending this time with me today. If any of this resonated with you, Vibrant Minds, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. And please, please, please share this with another parent who might benefit from this information. But until next time, trust yourself. Y'all got this. We got this. Let's do it. Stay vibrant.